people, we've got to fight. Jean Petro, you see us. Oh, we've got to fight. Let's go fight. Oh, black people, we've got to fight. Zumbi, you see us. Oh, we've got to fight. Let's go fight. Oh, black people, we've got to fight. Yes, Sante, why you see us? Oh, we've got to fight. Let's go fight. Oh, black people, we've got to fight. Bookman, you see us. Oh, we've got to fight. Let's go fight. Oh,
we have to have the courage to construct our own reality. And that's what Garvey was talking about. Because he said he looked around, he didn't see what he thought should be there, and so what did he do? He didn't get depressed about it. He didn't get defeated about it. He said, I'm gonna build the government that we need to have. Ooh, where do you get that kind of boldness from? So we gotta go all the way back to Garvey, who said he would come again. He said he would be here with us, no matter how long it took. And I'm telling you that the way he comes back is in our work. Not honoring him in words, pomp and all of that stuff, but honoring him through doing what he did. How many?
You know the origin of what is today called the Congolese crisis, which is actually only a continuation of the struggle between the forces of pressure and the forces of liberation. At the very outset of the Belgian aggression, my government, the guarantor and representative of the sovereignty of the Congolese nation, decided to appeal to the United Nations. The UN has responded, and so has the free world. Belgium has been condemned. I went to New York to show world public opinion the moving forces of the Congolese drama. Upon our return from the United States, we replied to the invitation of the heads of the free African states, who publicly adopted a definite position and unanimously extended to us their fraternal support. All of them, fighting for African unity, have said no to the strangulation of Africa. All of them immediately realized that the attempts of the imperialists to restore their rule threaten not only the independence of the Congo, but also the existence of all independent African states. They all realize that if the Congo perishes, the whole of Africa will be plunged into gloom of defeat and bondage. Such is the word sounds of our eminent warrior ancestor, Papa Patrice Lumumba. Tendai Mwali, Be thankful unto the Mother, Father, creative life force of the universe. Kudzai, Muzimu Mokulu, we give praises unto our great ancestors. Abibi Tumi, Abibi Fahodi, African power and African liberation for all African people. Greetings and welcome, brothers and sisters, to another edition of our special series of shows. We stand with Congo. We are standing with our people in the Congo today, and we do so unapologetically. And I'm gonna get right into the show, brothers and sisters, because time is of the essence, as they say, and we have a very, very special guest joining us, brothers and sisters, to break it down for us. We are speaking to Brother Maurice Carney, who is the executive director and co-founder of the campaign group and organization Friends of the Congo. And without further ado, let me bring it forward to you. Greetings and welcome, Brother Maurice.
Peace, brother. Yeah. Pleasure to be with you.
Yes, sir. Likewise, and it's good to have you with us. And I think we all owe you and all of the brothers and sisters at Friends of the Congo a debt of gratitude, because certainly I myself have learned a lot about the crisis in the Congo from the work that you all have been doing. You've been raising a lot of awareness, and I know many others who have, contributed to helping and trying to find solutions and support for our people in the Congo have done so, at least in part, due to the motivation and the information that you and the people of Friends of the Congo have done. So please, we thank you and we're humbled for your presence here today.
Yes, it's my great pleasure to have the opportunity to engage with you and your audience.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, brothers and sisters, Brother Maurice is here. Please hit up the like button as you come through. Share the link far and wide. And let the people them know that Shakara is live with the one and only Brother Maurice Carney of Friends of the Congo, as we stand with our people in the Congo. Now, our subject today, my brother, as you are aware, is the crimes of Paul Kagame. Yes, the crimes of Paul Kagame. Now, immediately, when we engage in a subject such as this, some people out there, as has been said, since you've been sharing the information about the show, seem to believe that our show is in an intended endorsement of the Congolese government in general and President Tshisekedi in particular. Is that the case, my brother?
No, not at all. Our assessment is structural and systemic in nature, and Paul Kagame, represents a particular type of African.
Yes.
So it's not just, it could be somebody else's name. It could be Blaise Compaoré,
Yes.
saying? It could be Yoweri Museveni. There's when you take a look at capitalism, you take a look at imperialism, you see that an aspect of their power, of their attempt, to have full spectrum domination, is the recruitment of agents. Thomas Sankara talks about them. He called them agents of neo-colonialism.
Yes,
and Paul Kagame represents that type. And the reason why the discussion around him is so important is because the propaganda that has been built up around him to present him other than he actually is, to present him as a revolutionary, to present him as a Pan-Afrikanist, to present him as one who's confronting the West through rhetoric. I think that needs to be deconstructed, demystified, because that image has been detrimental in the most severe way to African people in the heart of the African continent. So it certainly warrants our going into the nature and the scope of this grand deception around this type of a person that is presented to us by the empire.
Yes.
So that is the spirit in which we address and speak about that type of African, right?
Yes, sir.
That is, represented by, for this discussion anyways,
yes, sir.
Paul Kagame.
Absolutely.
Another discussion, we could have the same discussion around Blaise Compaoré.
Right.
Or Alassane Ouattara. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not really a personal discussion. It's a
absolutely
systemic analysis of the structural features that keep our people in bondage, not only physically, but also mentally.
My brother, to be even clearer with the point, would it be true to say that as far as the crisis in the Congo is concerned, that the government of the Congo is in fact guilty of betraying the interests of the masses of the people on the ground?
Well, you know, it depends on who you talk to in the Congo, right? And when you look,
hey, Brother Maurice is frozen. Is it just me, or is Brother Maurice frozen?
yeah, okay, Patrice Lumumba and his statement, or a speech from Lumumba, and in order for you to understand the government of today, right?
Yes.
A point of reference would be a really good book by one of the countrywomen, Susan Williams. She wrote a book entitled White Malice, right? And it's a book about Kwame Nkrumah and Patrice Lumumba. And she said, in writing, she set out to write a book about Nkrumah and Lumumba, right? However, she said the CIA kept getting in the way. She said, everywhere I turned, the CIA was there. So she said, I took it back to my editor, and I said, you know, I'm trying to write a book about, you know, Lumumba and the relationship between Lumumba and Nkrumah. Yes. I can't do it because the CIA is everywhere. And then it just said, well, write about it. Right? So the point is that the leadership that we see in the Congo today represents a particular type. Right?
Yes.
The United States publishes these classified documents in 2014, around that era, 1960, in the Congo, where it stated that for the first 10 years, all decisions made in the, you know, of consequence made in the Congo was made in concert with the Central Intelligence Agency. Right?
Yes.
The chief of station of the CIA, Larry Devlin, he wrote a book entitled Chief of Station Congo. And in that book, he talks about how he overthrew. It's like a playbook for overthrowing a democratically elected leader. Because he talks about how he overthrew Lumumba. And a central part of that was corrupting the Congolese elite, right? Buying them off. They were called the Binza group, or the Binza boys, B-I-N-Z-A. I encourage your viewers to look it up. So when the CIA and the US government mounted the largest covert action in the world, right, at the time, to overthrow Patrice Emery Lumumba and subsequently install Joseph Desiré Mobutu, they imposed on the Congolese people the Binza boys type of leadership, corrupt, beholden to the West, despise their own people, no love for their people, right? That serve the interests of the empire. So it's that genealogy, right, that we see in the Congo today, because since that time, no leader has risen to, since the overthrow of Lumumba, no leader has risen to power without the, you know, the blessings or the, you know, the co-signing of the United States. Absolutely. So when we talk about Congolese leadership of today at the head of the state, we cannot talk about that without talking about the Central Intelligence Agency, the US government, and the die that it cast in 1960. And there's a book that just came out in October of 2023 called The Lumumba Plot by Stuart Reed. And he basically consolidates the declassified documents by from the US government that they released, and, you know, put it into a book. And even he himself says, like, he's like, you know, like, you know, the United States really owes Congo reparations for what it did.
Absolutely.
Right? He said, I know they won't give him reparations, so maybe they can give them aid for education and all that stuff, right? But the principle, you know, there's no argument. You know, it's not a radical principle because the facts are well known. So we have to look at the Congolese leadership that's in place today, not only in the context of its colonial legacy, right? But also in the context of U.S. imperialism and what the U.S. is permitting, you know, in the heart of the African continent, an area that is so strategic. CIA, the head of, you know, the CIA chief, you know, station, Larry Devlin said, so we have to get rid of Lumumba. He said, if we didn't get rid of Lumumba, not only would we have lost the Congo, we would have lost all of Africa, right? So the centrality of Africa or Congo, right, to the domination and control of the African continent is indisputable. And by the same token, the liberation of Congo, a free and liberated Congo, right, is vital to a free and liberated Africa. You just have to read Kwame Nkrumah's Challenge of the Congo to get that side of the story, where he saw Congo as being central to the project of the United States of Africa and actually serving as the capital of the United States of Africa. So historical context is critical. The colonial legacy is vital. The neo-colonial understanding and prism is indispensable for understanding not only what's going on with Congolese leadership today, but for understanding that type of leader that's right next door, Paul Kagame and Yoweri Museveni.
Thank you very much, my brother, for that clarity. And just as the director of Kimbonga Media and the person who's hosting the show, the reason why this particular subject was chosen, as far as we are concerned, is the fact that Kagame is unique in the sense of the fact that he is put forward by these Western governments, corporations, and related institutions as a progressive, revolutionary, Pan-Afrikanist, upstanding leader on the African continent who's going to chart the course of the development of Africa from now and throughout the 21st century. Tshisekedi does not have that level of notoriety in the Western world, nor does Museveni, although he's been a Western puppet for quite some time, but he's a stooge, and everybody tends to understand that he's a stooge, up until relatively recently. There's some people trying to remix the thing, right? But generally speaking, none of them have the investment that Britain and America in particular have put into Kagame. They have not put into Tshisekedi and Museveni and others in the same way. Or Taiwan might be similar.
Well, let's look at it dispassionately, right? And objectively, right?
Yes, sir.
In 1998, Bill Clinton traveled to the continent.
Yes, sir.
And was at Entebbe, Uganda. And came out of there with the Entebbe principles, right? And I encourage people to do just a search on the internet, Entebbe principles, the city in Uganda, just say Entebbe principles. And the Entebbe principles identified what they called, what Bill Clinton, then the president of the United States, what Madeleine Albright, then the Secretary of State, and what Susan Rice, then the Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, called a new breed of African leaders, right?
Yes.
Now, Washington, you hear what I'm saying? Yes. Washington put its imprimatur on a new breed of African leaders, a new breed of Pan-African leaders, Renaissance leaders. That's coming out of Washington, right? That's not coming out of Accra, right? That's not coming out of Johannesburg or Kinshasa, right? It's not coming out of Khartoum. It's coming out of Washington. And this is what they're presenting to the world as a new breed of African leaders that included, Paul Kagame of Rwanda, Yoweri Museveni, right, of Uganda. They had Meles Zenawi in there of Ethiopia, right? So remember the power of the U.S. empire, like it puts a narrative out there, it dominates, right? It becomes an article of faith, fact, truth.
Yes.
So this notion of these Pan-African leaders, right, come out of the Clinton administration, and the documents are there. So that's one, right? This is not a African origin story, right? And then we look at the history of these guys, and in this case, we're looking at Paul Kagame and the Rwandan government, right? It's budget. Almost half of his budget is funded by you guys in the UK, in our tax dollars, washed out of the US, right?
Yes.
Right. So Pan-Afrikanists are grounded in self-sufficiency and self-determination, right? So Thomas Sankara, in a short stint that he had in Burkina Faso, he didn't go to Washington, he didn't go to Brussels, he didn't go to Paris, he didn't go to London and ask them to finance his revolutionary movement in Burkina Faso, right? He went to the people and said, we need you to roll up your sleeves and go to work, build the roads, plant the trees, respect the women, right? Grow the food. You know what I'm saying? So we have a model of what a self-sufficient, self-determined Pan-African leader looks like in Thomas Sankara's Burkina Faso, right? And if you match that against the clean streets in Kigali and the principles underlying the clean streets and the big stadiums in Kigali, you know, the bling and the stars and the flashes that we gravitate towards, right?
Yes.
There's just no comparison.
Right.
Thomas Sankara did not actively seek, right, to ensconce himself up in the British Commonwealth, right? That's not a expression of a Pan-African leader to be wanting to be up in the relic of a colonial empire. Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso, a francophone country, did not seek to ensconce himself up in the francophonie, right? He challenged Francois Mitterrand. He stood on toe-to-toe with Francois Mitterrand, just like Lumumba stood with, you know, King Badoen, and articulated himself as a fully self-expressed African man.
Yeah.
Right? That's Sankara. That's Pan-Africanism. Right? But you have Kagame, who lobbied the Macron for his foreign minister, Louise Mushikiwabo, to be the general secretary of the Francophonie. So we have a collection of Pan-Africanists right now as we speak in West Africa. Tiani in Niger, you know, Goita in Mali, you know, we have Traoré, you know, Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso, Alliance of Sahel States. They're kicking the French out. They say, Macron, we don't want to have anything to do with you. Kagame is in bed with the French, with Macron, as the lead of the Francophonie, which is the French corollary to the British Commonwealth.
Yeah.
So he's up in both of these institutions,
right?
British Commonwealth, you know, the Francophonie, and that's why I said we look at it dispassionately and objectively. I'll have to ask your audience: Are those the practices of Pan-Africanists? Is that emblematic of the Nkrumahs and the Lumumbas and you know the Sankaras and the Sekou Touré?
Yeah.
Right. Remember, Sekou Touré, de Gaulle asked him, said, "You can be a part of, you can have your independence and be a part of France-Afrique."
Yes.
And Sekou Touré mobilized his people with our brilliant sister André Blouin to do what in the 58 referendum, to say no to France. We don't want to be a part of your sphere of influence.
Absolutely.
You know, we want our full independence. We'd rather be poor and independent than have crumbs from you and having to, you know, grovel, right? So what we're saying is, let's, you know, Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad and Nation of Islam said, of all of our studies, history is best qualified to reward our research. So let's look at our history, our Pan-African history, and bring that Pan-African history to bear upon contemporary conditions and situations.
My brother, sorry, go on. Finish your sentence.
So being up in the Francophonie and then farming your soldiers out as mercenaries for French corporate interests in Mozambique to protect natural gas interests of Total Energies,
right,
which Rwanda is doing as we speak.
Yes.
That doesn't represent Pan-Africanism. You know, then the European Union rewards them with 20 million euros in 2023, another 20 million euros in 2024, because he farmed his soldiers out as mercenaries to protect French corporate interests in Mozambique. While back in the Sahel, they're like, French soldiers got to go. French corporations got to go. We want our uranium for ourselves. You know, we want our gold for our people, right? That's what they're saying. So
Yeah.
I think if we look at it dispassionately, objectively, then it won't be a question of personalities, whether you like Kagame or don't like Kagame. That's
Absolutely.
inconsequential. He may be a nice guy. I don't know. I don't think he is. I think he's a gangster, a cold-blooded killer, based on what he said, right?
Yes.
But that's not
yes.
the point. The point is we need to look at it systemically,
Absolutely.
so that, especially if we're talking about African liberation, and we have models of African, we have a genealogy, we have a heritage of what the best of our people have produced at home and abroad.
Yes, sir.
And if you stack that up, the
Yes.
Kagames and the Musevenis don't fit in that genealogy.
Absolutely not, my brother. Thank you very much for that breakdown. And it's such a, it occurs to me that with all you said just now, we should be able to end the show right here, right? It shouldn't be any more question about the Pan-African credentials, progressive revolutionary credentials of Kagame. Everything that you have outlined just now should would be used against him in a court of law if we had a Pan-African court, yeah? And he would be found wanting, and he would be found guilty. At the same time, it is unfortunately the fact that many Pan-Afrikanists are parroting the nonsense, are parroting the foolishness, are parroting the narrative. Yeah? So we're going to get into why that is shortly. Before we do so, though, let me just take some time to dispel another myth. And it's important now, especially because there's a social media environment that is proliferating certain antagonisms between the people of the Congo on the one hand and the people of Rwanda on the other. So when we say the crimes of Paul Kagame, are we in fact attacking the people of Rwanda? Is this a judgment against the people of Rwanda?
No, you know, if you go to the east of Congo and the city of Goma, there's a border crossing called Gisenyi. And in Gisenyi, people are going back and forth, interacting. You know, they're joking. You know, they'll sit down. You know, sitting with a group of artists in Goma, and some people are like, you know, things work really well in Rwanda. We like it, you know. And the Congolese will go, yeah, things work really well in Rwanda, but I bet you what, you can't make a film in Rwanda like you can make a film in the Congo. You know? You can't have a conversation like we're having right now, like you in Rwanda, like you're having in the Congo. So there's just intermingling, and you know, the borders for Africans, you know, like, hey, you know, they weren't created by us, you know. So people, we're interacting and we're moving, right?
Yes, sir.
However, when we talk about the people of Rwanda, we really, you know, I'm a political scientist. I study political science, right? And when you see a leader that's been in power for nearly 30 years, 3 decades, right? And then all the elections that person participated in, he never got less than 93% of the votes. And then in the last election that he participated in 2024, and I'm speaking about President Kagame, he got 99% of the vote in a population of 15 million people. Now, just objectively, that says to me that in order for you to get 99% of the vote, you're running an authoritarian state. There is no dissent. You know, there is no, you know, counter opinion, right? Yeah. And I'll give you a few ways in which this manifests itself in terms of the propaganda that's out there, and in terms of the reality that unfolds in, you know, in Rwanda. Rwanda is often trumpeted as being progressive when it comes to women, right? And they say women make up, I don't know, 30-40% of the parliament in Rwanda, right? And this is under a regime that's where the president wins 99% of the vote. So there are 2 brave women, right, that ran for president. One in 2010, and Victoria Ingabire, and another sister. When did she run? She may have run in 2017. I'll pull her name up, right? That run for president. And do you know what president? And they ran against Paul. They attempted. I shouldn't say they ran for president. They attempted to run for president with an alternative narrative, right? And do you know what this progressive, quote unquote, womanist did? He put him in jail. He locked him up. His minions were circulating nude pictures of one of the women who ran for president, who wanted to run for president. Right? Castigated them, jailed them, tortured them. Right? So you have this image out there of that's contradicted by the reality, on the ground. So when we talk about your question about Congolese people against Rwandan people,
Yes.
Congolese people, in a lot of respects, see Rwandan people as being trapped in a totalitarian state,
Right.
which is what you would say just objectively, whether it's Kagame or anyone else. If you have an election and you say you win with 99% of the vote, and you have 15 million people in your, about 15 million people or so in your country, I don't have 99% agreement in my own family.
Yes.
Much less a state. And you arrive at that by repression. And what Kagame does, right? If you dissent, as Nyamwasa did and Patrick Karegeya did, if they're really tight with Kagame, they were there with him, when Kagame went into Rwanda in 1990, again in 94, but they fell out with him.
Yes.
And you know what he did? He chased them down. They were going to kill you like dogs, right? And several assassination attempts. They were in South Africa, on South African soil. Yeah. And then in 2013, he assassinated Patrick Karegeya, right? And that resulted in South Africa breaking off diplomatic relations with Rwanda, because Kagame pursued the dissidents, right? So it's not just clamping down on people inside of Rwanda, but outside of Rwanda, he'll track you down, right? Like even in your country, the MI6? Is that what they call the intelligence services in your country?
Yep.
Yeah, they warn Rwanda. They say, hey, Paul Kagame setting his hitman after you. Now, what would the intelligence service would like? You think the UK government would go to Kagame and say, what the hell are you doing? We're a sovereign country. Why are you sending folks after people in our country? But they warn the people that Kagame is going after. They do the same thing. The FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, warn people in the United States. So he's been allowed to, because he's a agent of imperialism, agent of the West, he's been able to function with impunity, both at home and abroad. And that kind of explains a little bit what we see unfolding in the Congo.
Yes, my brother. And so let us get into then how the image of Kagame was constructed. And we need to begin this with all sensitivity, because the image of Kagame was constructed out of a genocide, that took place in Rwanda. And there is no way that you can experience something like that and a nation not be experiencing, even today, significant amounts of trauma, coming out of that particular experience, But it is a fact that a significant amount of the image of Kagame was constructed out of that particular crisis, because he was projected as the savior of Rwanda in general, and the Tutsis in particular. And then that particular image was extended to, being one of a beacon of freedom and democracy, and rule of law and free market economy. Yes, in Africa in general. So just if you can just run us through how this image, with the point is that I've just said, how was the image constructed? In what way was that image particularly constructed? And then we'll begin to deconstruct that image.
Yeah, it's thank you for that question. It's an image that was constructed primarily by Western institutions,
right?
By journalists, by universities and scholars and the media. They all rallied around the story of this guy being a savior, right? And then the narrative that the West didn't intervene to prevent the genocide, and this notion of genocide guilt, all of that, accrued to his benefit. In a lot of respects, not fundamentally different from the state of Israel, right? They're Jewish people, victims of a genocide in World War II, and they've given land, occupy other people's land and set up a state, for them, and then they have a license to kill and commit genocide against other people without any kind of repercussion from these Western powers. So we see that unfolding in Rwanda on a smaller scale, right?
Yes.
Say that just everything we say about Kagame is a savior and all of that, which we don't agree.
Yes.
Right? If you just look at the International Criminal Tribunal on Rwanda, and we see it starting there, the massacres that the Rwandan Patriotic Front, committed in Rwanda during the genocide was just shut down. Even when the head of the tribunal, I think is a former prime minister, Carla Del Ponte, was trying to raise questions to hold to account, the crimes of Kagame and his folks. Even going back to the shooting down of remember, the genocide was triggered by the shooting down of a plane of the head of state of Burundi and, Rwanda, right? But and you have an international criminal tribunal that's dealing with the genocide and the crimes, but they don't deal with the trigger. They don't look at what triggered the genocide.
Absolutely.
And if you watch the interview by Kagame's former comrade who was with him at the time, right, Nyamwasa, he tells you that we shot down the plane. The RPF shot down the plane that assassinated two presidents, the Burundian president and the Rwandan president, right? So we don't have to tell that story. The people who were with Kagame, they tell the story because they were there, right? But let's just not necessarily delve too deeply into that. The manufacturing of this image on the part of the West through its journalists, its media, its intellectuals, universities, right?
Yes.
Has served it really well because you have almost like a tacit agreement that, we're going to look away from the crimes that you have committed and continue to commit, both in the Rwanda and in the Congo, as long as you continue to, the French, the Congolese call it the nègre de service, to serve as nègre de service. It's a beautiful way they say it. It's like a Negro at your service. It's almost like a literal translation, right? As long as you continue to, to be that, and we'll protect you. Now, this isn't like across the board in the West. And for example, the Spanish courts, under this principle of universal jurisdiction, the same principle that they brought Pinochet to court on, right? Which allows a foreign government to go, to bring charges against another government and top officials if that government has committed war crimes, crimes against humanity, and kill their citizens, which happened. Spanish folks were killed in Rwanda under Kagame. So they had this international arrest warrant out on 40 of Rwanda's top officials. So it just so happened that one of those officials, his name is General Karenzi, wound up in the UK. And the UK arrested him, right? Under the international arrest warrant that was issued by the Spanish courts, right? So he showed up in the court. And do you know who, did we lose him? Did we lose you? It seems like we lost you.
No, I'm here, brother. Go ahead, I'm here, brother. Go ahead.
Okay. So he showed up in court, right? And guess who was a part of his defense team? None other than Cherie Blair, right? Cherie Blair is the wife of Tony Blair, who is a close advisor to Paul Kagame, former prime minister. So you have the former prime minister, Blair, and also President Clinton is close to Kagame. They run interference. They leverage their network in order to not only protect Kagame, but protect his people. That General Karenzi, he was part of the the 6-Day War in the Congo. The 6-Day War is a war that took place, a battle that took place from June 5th to June 10th, 2000 in Kisangani, where Rwandan soldiers and Ugandan soldiers fought each other on Congolese soil over Congolese resources, killing about 1,000 Congolese, injuring scores. And to this very day, the Congolese people who are seeking justice for the 6-Day War in and around Kisangani. So that's how that one of the ways in which that image is perpetrated and carried out by the Kagame himself and his top officials not being held to account at the international level with international bodies on the international jurisprudence not being held to account. And it's also maintained in several ways, right? In that, right there, we go back to the UK again, which is, a stomping ground for Kagame.
The UK is the daddy colonizer, you know. You can't avoid dealing with the UK. It's the big daddy colonizer. You know,
right.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Rwanda enters, launches this campaign about its image to present this image of Rwanda. It's called Visit Rwanda campaign.
Yes.
So they engage in what people call sports washing.
Yes.
So they enter into a partnership with the Arsenal football team. And the Arsenal football team wear on their sleeve, Visit Rwanda. So if my favorite football team is down with Rwanda and Paul Kagame, he's got to be a good guy, right? They're not going to be down with a guy, who's got the blood of millions of Africans on his hand.
Yeah.
A guy that has invaded the Congo in 1996 and 1998 and occupied Congolese cities in 2012 and 2025 and, created an environment where 150 women were raped and burnt alive and 3,000 Congolese were killed and, within a week period while his soldiers occupy a city of 2 million people. That's not what the Arsenal is going to be associated with. So in your mind, the image is presented as like, this guy is cool. He's a good citizen. He's a good global citizen, as the organization Global Citizen with its enterprise would like us to think.
So somebody listening right now, brother, is saying that, but Rwanda experienced a genocide, and at the very least, Kagame was able to bring stability to the nation. His efforts were allowed, Rwanda to become a stable democracy and from that bedrock, they were able to develop somewhat of a stable economy. Do we not give Kagame any credit for that?
At what cost?
Okay.
Say that everything you say is true. I'm not going to argue with it, right?
Yeah.
Is that worth about 1 million African lives?
That's a good question.
No. Is it worth about 2 million African lives?
Yeah.
At what cost? Is it worth 3 million African lives?
Absolutely.
At what cost? Is it worth, let's say, 4 million African lives? At what cost? Is it worth, let's say, about 5 million African lives? At what cost? Is it worth about 6 million African lives?
Yeah.
That picture that you painted, is it worth 6 million African lives? That's what the International Rescue Committee said, that the second invasion by Kagame and Museveni triggered the loss of 5.4 million Congolese lives, half of them children under the age of 5. So is all those African skulls of babies worth that stability that you're talking about, those clean streets, that democracy that you're talking about?
Yes.
In Rwanda. As a human being, is it worth it? The hundreds of thousands of women in the Congo who's been systematically raped and terrorized. The 150 women that I just told you about who were raped and burnt alive just less than 7 days ago. Is it worth all of that? I'm not saying he did it, but that came about as a result of an invasion and occupation of a city of 2 million Congolese. that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Yes. Yes.
So we have to ask ourselves, those clean streets, those big stadiums, right? No plastic bags.
Yes.
How many African lives is that worth?
Yes. Yes.
How many? Yes. Tell me. I want to know.
Yes.
How many African lives is that worth? African people.
Absolutely. My brother, you're asking the right question, and it's the question that, for the life of me, I can't understand why people cannot factor that into their analysis. But then it brings us to the controversial
Maybe because they
issue.
don't know. They don't know because of the propaganda.
No, I'm sorry, my brother. With all due respect, some of them are fully aware of the argument that you just put forward, and are still parroting this narrative. I don't understand it, but let's address it though, because the reason is because there is doubt has been cast. Yeah, or let's say part of the reason is because doubt has been cast on the extent to which the Kagame government is benefiting and enriching itself off of the resources that exist across the border in the Congo. Doubt has been cast on the extent to which Rwanda itself has significant reserves of coltan and copper and tin, etc. And so there are a few different arguments. Some say none of it exists in Rwanda. Yes, they're getting it all from the Congo. Some say it does exist in Rwanda, but there are no active mines in Rwanda. All of the active mines are in the Congo, and Kagame's troops, including the M23, are there to secure those resources in the Congo, and they are therefore shipped over the border and sold from Rwanda to the rest of the world. And then some say, no, there are active mines in Rwanda, and Rwanda is selling the resources that are in fact mined in Rwanda. What is the truth of that dynamic? Because that is the key, the crux of the issue, whereby people seem to be confused at the extent to which Kagame is complicit in what's going on in the Congo.
Yeah, there is very little confusion. There should be very little confusion around it. If you look at the studies, you look at the research, you listen to Kagame himself. There's one interview with Kagame. He said, you know how he talks. He said, the minerals in Congo, they come into Rwanda, and I don't have anything to do with it. They come to Rwanda and they go out and they go to Europe and elsewhere, and Russia. I think they still go to Russia. He's like, just like the interviewer asked him in one of the corporate media, do you have Rwandan soldiers in the Congo? Yeah. And he says, I don't know. And the interviewer comes back with a follow-up question. He said, Mr. Kagame, you're the exactly. Commander-in-chief. And he said, well, I don't know a lot of things.
and intelligent people think that's a legitimate answer. This is what I don't understand. Intelligent people look at that and know just
at a certain point, we have to say, listen, stop insulting our intelligence.
Exactly.
Stop insulting our intelligence. Right? I would highly recommend, right, that people watch the financial news, like Bloomberg News, for example. They just, came out with some data on Kagame and Rwanda. They got $1.2 billion in exports in gold.
Yes.
The number one producer of coltan in the world. Congo has 60% of the world's reserve of coltan. How is it Congo is not the number one producer of coltan? Congo's got 50%, about 50% of the world's reserve of cobalt. It's the number one producer of cobalt in the world. Cobalt is down south in the Congo, right? Yes. But there are just so many studies. The United Nations did a series of studies from 2001 to 2002 that documented the skyrocketing of exports from Rwanda, both Rwanda and Uganda. Exports in gold, exports in timber, exports in tin, exports in coltan. As a result of their occupation and invasion and plunder of Congo, you look at the charts, all up, right to this very day, right? Even the latest, even in your country, Global Witness, they've produced a series of studies that document how Rwanda is, extracting minerals from the Congo, and it happens on several levels. It's illicit trade. The Kagame's right-hand man. I highly recommend people watch that interview, right? That Nyamawasa gave to South African Broadcasting Corporation, where he explained in detail, because he was there. You know, he says our soldiers, they go in and they create the space and capture the mines, and then our businessmen come in and our companies come in and take the minerals out. You have an eyewitness that was right there telling you what they did when he was he was tight with Kagame like this, right? And he's telling you. So what he's sharing, right, is consistent with the research that's coming, the studies that's coming out of Global Witness, the studies that's coming out of, the group of excerpts of the United Nations, right? So that's not, that's not in dispute. There's a abundance of evidence around that. Even this last uprising, this last incursion on the part of Kagame. Remember, there was 2012, the M23, the Rwandan soldiers supported the M23. They captured the city of Goma, and as a result of actions, a range of actions, which we'll talk about when we get to the prescriptions part, they defeated, the M23 was defeated. But Kagame flipped the switch again in 2021. And a lot of the analysts are saying the reason why he flipped the switch on the M23 and getting them going again is because the Congolese government and the Ugandan government had entered into a deal to build a road from Uganda right down through Congo, Burundi, that would ultimately cut Rwanda out of the trade routes and deals, right? And Kagame didn't take too kindly to that. So the first area that they occupied, the M23 and the Rwandan soldiers, was a place called Bunagana on the border with Uganda and Congo. And that's where the road was had begun. And since that time, the project has been shut down. Kagame felt his strategic interests were threatened, his economic interests were threatened. They went on to say that one of the key things around the minerals coming out of the Congo is that through Rwanda is not even so much that they're exporting the minerals and getting money for it, but they get to put those exports on their books as export gains, right? From the Rwandan from the country. And then they can take these to the international bond market and enable them to get better, rates, lending rates on what they're borrowing. So they're just layers of benefit that go to the Rwandan government, not just the transitioning or processing of minerals and having the minerals go out. But you get to book those, and those are like that. That's why you see Rwanda being the #1 producer of coltan in the world, or exporting $1.2 billion worth of gold in 2024. So it's well documented, especially if you follow the financial news sources.
Right. But brother, if we had more time, I would read an excerpt from this book, In Praise of Blood.
Judy Rever, our sister Judy Rever, yes, from Canada. Yeah,
Canadian,
go ahead, please.
I know your time is limited, so I don't want to.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. We're good.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just wanted to highlight something that you said earlier in terms of the extent to which the American government ran interference for Kagame at the UN. And you mentioned Carla Del Ponto, who was a prosecutor in the UN. And she was removed from her position because basically she wouldn't play ball with the United States government. Had to tell them, well, this is according to her. There are those who conflict her reasoning, but her certainly her opinion is that basically because she told the US representative that she worked for the UN and not the United States, she was removed from the International Criminal Tribunal in relation to Rwanda. But then it says Del Ponto also wrote that she long suspected the Americans had done a deal with Rwanda, with the Rwandan regime, and she was right. A May 2003 memo sent by the U.S. Embassy in Kigali to Rwanda's General Prosecutor, Gerald Gahima, explains what Ambassador Prosper of America had succeeded in doing. The memo, signed by the U.S. Ambassador in Rwanda, Margaret Macmillan, and included below, was addressed to Gahima. Ambassador, this is quote now, quote, Ambassador Prosper's office asked that you confirm your approval of this document. And then it goes on to list what they want the Rwandan government to approve. To cut a long story short, they're trying to give the Rwandan government the power to try, whereas they have been charged with crimes, yes, in relation to the Rwandan genocide, they're giving the Rwandan government the chance to investigate these crimes themselves, yeah? So they're giving the government to investigate the crimes that they have been charged with themselves, yeah? So this is what the American government did. Yeah? They stepped in to make this happen, right? Then it goes on to say, in black and white, the ICTR, the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, had become a surrogate of Washington. And by extension, Kagame. It had granted Kagame legal immunity from war crimes and terrorism. It allowed the killers to investigate themselves. Western officials had removed Carla de la Ponte, who no matter what her critics had to say, was attempting to edge Rwanda towards accountability instead of impunity. Yeah. So it goes further to explain that what the US ambassador in fact did in entering that deal with the Rwandan government was in fact illegal. Yeah, as it relates to UN letter of the law, but it was allowed to go through anyway. So I'm putting that out there, brothers and sisters, to say that not only have they given us this image of Kagame, they have gone to extreme lengths to protect that image. Yes, this is the American government stepping in. Yeah, and whenever that happens, I don't know of this ever happening in any other instance than this man is a client. Yes, of Western interest, of America and Britain and France and related corporations. I have never seen that. I don't know that they did the same to Nkrumah and Lumumba. I don't know that they did the same to Winnie Mandela. Yes, I'm not aware of this. I don't know that they did the same for Leone Abomulele of the Simba Rebellion. I'm not aware of this. Please, somebody, history is best qualified to rule our research. Please show me the example of the United Nations and the American government collaborating to protect African freedom fighters from war crimes.
Yes, that's why I'm saying that we'll be mistaken if we just focus on Kagame and just deal with Kagame, the personality. We have to do it, look at it systemically and structurally, and he's an agent, as Thomas Sankara would say, he's an agent of imperialism. He serves the empire, and the empire protects him. They run diplomatic interference. They run political interference. And that point that Judy Rever is making in her book, that, how can I say, circumventing of accountability, right? Thus perpetuating impunity, right? And ultimately not delivering justice. Those are the three principles that plague the region to this day, whereby Congolese people and others in the Great Lakes region are suffering to the extent that they are. Lack of accountability, the lack of justice, and rampant impunity. And that has been facilitated. That could not happen. That could not happen, my brother, without the US, without the UK, without the European Union. So they are complicit in what we see unfolding in the Great Lakes region, the millions dead, the systematic raping of women, the plundering of Congolese resources. I think I shared with you, I don't know if I did, that in the last year, the European Union entered into a critical minerals deal with Kagame. In the midst of Kagame and this M23 capturing the largest coltan mine, on the African continent, right? So they reward him for the crimes of plunder, the crimes against humanity, the war crimes, and what the United Nations said in its October 2010 report, that if it's Rwandan soldiers are brought in front of a competent court, they could be charged for crimes of genocide, right?
My brother, you touched on sorry, go ahead.
They do. You cannot talk about Kagame without talking about Brussels, without talking about Paris, without talking about London, without talking about.
It's an important point to make clear, because many might believe that Kagame is acting upon his own agency. He is not. There's no way he's able to do everything that Brother Maurice has said, without significant backing and patronage.
I just shared with you how Cherie Blair, was in the courts defending one of his top.
That's where I'm gonna go. That's where I want to go. Right.
the
That's
wife
where I want to
of
go with
Tony
it.
Blair.
Right. So
That's
you
just like
put
a window into it, right?
no, yeah, absolutely. Let's open the window slightly, and talk about Tony Blair's African Governance Initiative, and his Institute for Global Change, because Kagame is one of the most significant patrons of both those institutions, as far as I'm made to understand, and it was Blair and through those institutions that facilitated Kagame being able to legitimize his changing of the constitution so that he could run for another term. You know, and that's very interesting to me, because at the same this was all being done at the same time as Britain has spent the better part of a decade campaigning against Zimbabwe and Mugabe. For staying in power too long. At the same time as they were doing that, they were assisting and facilitating Kagame extending his term. In power. So let's speak about
so
Tony
we know
Blair's
it's not
African
about
Governance Initiative.
principles, right? When it comes to these states, it's not about principles of democracy. Are you serious? It's about interests, and it's in their interest to have the Kagame in power as the head Negro in charge, so to speak. You know, in East Africa and really the Great Lakes region. And then, you know, Blair benefits from all of this because he benefits personally. He's a consultant, right, to the Rwandan government, to other governments, and I just, there's no other way for you to explain it, brother, that he can set up an outfit and be a consultant to African governments about governing their own resources, unless those governments are like just agents, right, of neocolonialism, unless they're like, they need some severe decolonizing, the type of, you know, what's our Nigerian brother talk about decolonizing the African mind, right?
Chinwezu.
Chinwezu, right? So how is it that you can hire Tony Blair to tell you how to manage your African resources? Right. So it just shows how the extent to which, right? You asked the question from the beginning, how the propaganda is able to, you know, to continue and to flummox so many people and to, you know, convince so many people. It's because he has, you know, people in like the Tony Blairs, you know, the global elites that cover for him, that you know, cleanse his image. It's you know, the Bill Clinton, right? Those kind of people. You know, when I won't go into that story because we're short in time. But in any case, that's just an example that you just shared as to he's connected. The folks that he's connected to are not you and me, are not Pan-Afrikanists who are, you know, organizing, mobilizing, you know, for free and liberated Africa. You know, he's connected to Tony Blair's. He's connected to the son of, you know, Warren Buffett, Howard Buffett. You know, he's connected to folks who fund the, you know, the Republican Party in the United States, Sheldon Adelson, you know, billionaires like, you know, like that. You know, Rick Warren, major pastor, you know, in California. Those are the folks that
not forgetting Benjamin Netanyahu.
Oh, let's talk about that, right? Because in the UK, under Boris Johnson, they initiated a deal with Rwanda, where this is another example of how, you know, Kagame in Rwanda is a nègre de service, as the French, the Congolese call them, right? That basically Rwanda would take in, I think if they get 200,000 or 200 million pounds, right? Would take in asylees that the UK, you know, doesn't want, right? Instead of giving them asylum status in the US, what they would do when they apply, they would ship them off to Rwanda. Well, the UK was exploring that, and, you know, the UK courts, you know, blocked it. But before that, Kagame had the same agreement with Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli state, that those asylees in Israel, they would ship them. They actually shipped them to Rwanda, right? Where Rwanda would be, you know, serve as the outpost for receiving those folks. So, whether it's minerals, whether it's protecting corporate interests, whether it's providing as soldiers, as mercenaries, whether it's you know, being in cahoots with retrograde policies of the UK and Israel, he's like I'm your guy,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
I'm your guy. So the type of leadership he is, again, and I'll say it, he's in the Blaise Compaoré camp. You know,
Yeah.
he's in the Alassane Ouattara camp. He's
Yeah.
at the service of the empire, which is
Absolutely.
the polar opposite of the Pan-African leadership that we know. And speaking of that, what we see, you know, coming out of the independence era, right? The Kwame Nkrumahs of Ghana, the Modibo Keitas of Mali, the
Yes.
Ahmed Sékou Touré, you know, of Guinea, they
Yes.
rallied around the Congo, right? They sent Andre Blouin, sister from Central African Republic, Verso book, just republished her book, Afrika, My Country, right?
Yes.
They sent, you know, Félix Moumier, you know, from the Cameroon, to go and be with and support Lumumba because they embraced Congo.
Yes.
And saw it as central to the project of the United States of Africa, to the future of the African continent. Now, fast forward to today, the Kagames, the Musevenis, they're ravaging Congo, invading Congo, raping their women, killing their babies, stealing their resources. Even the International Court of Justice in 2005 said this is what they were doing. Because the Congolese government brought Rwanda, not Rwanda, but Uganda to the International Court of Justice. In 2005, they ruled in favor of the Congo. They tried to bring Rwanda as well, but Rwanda is not party to the court. And the International Court of Justice said Uganda owes Congo billions of dollars in reparations for the war crimes, crimes against humanity, crimes of plunder, right? So they've, you know, Museveni himself said that Congo is a banana plantation. You go and get what you want, right?
Yes.
You know, the Congolese government and Uganda have worked out a deal that they started paying the reparations in 2024. But it's so important to compare the Pan-Africanists of that era and how they responded to the Congo, and the so-called Pan-Africanists, the people who put the stamp of Pan-Africanists of today, the Musevenis and the Kagames, and how they've ravaged the Congo, right? So and it's not just about the Congo. And Nkrumah told you that. It's not just about the Congo. You know, it's about Africa. If you ravage the Congo, you're ravaging Africa, right? You know, a quote had been attributed to Frantz Fanon, you know, said that the continent is shaped like a pistol. And the Congo is a trigger. You pull that trigger, it sets off a combustion and ignite the entire continent. You know, Sheikh Anta Diop in his Federated States of Africa talked about the centrality of Congo and its enormous wealth to the development of the continent as a whole. You know, Fanon again in his Toward the African Revolution, you know, he said in that book, he said, the fate of all of us is at stake in the Congo, right? The internationalist Che Guevara in his Congo Diaries said Congo's problem is a worldwide problem. You know, the extent to which Congo is successful, Africa will be successful. The extent to which Congo fails, Africa will fail. These are the revolutionaries. And this is what they've said. And not only said, but done, you know, to try and hold up the Congo and center it as a fundamental and indispensable pedestal for advancing African people, not only on the continent, but globally. So if two rogue Africans are ravaging and, you know, hijacking the future of Africa, how are we going to be celebrating them as saying they're the examples and the models? They're not. They're holding us back because they're serving the empire. They're serving the West. And one of the ways they're serving the empire in the West is by ravaging the heart of the African continent.
Absolutely.
The space that Fanon said, the fate of all of us is at stake there. If the fate of all of us is at stake there, why is Kagame and why Museveni ravaging it? They're ravaging us, Africans at home and Africans abroad. You know, they're stealing the patrimony of the sons and the daughters, not only of the Congo, but the sons of the daughters of Africa at home and abroad. So we should be outraged. This shouldn't be a debate. This should be like, how do we stop this? How do we crush this? How do we prevent these folks from serving as obstacles to the liberation and, you know, and sovereignty, ultimate sovereignty of Africa? So it's beyond the Congo. It's beyond Kagame. It's about us,
Absolutely.
Africans at home, Africans abroad.
Absolutely, my brother. Good. It's an important point to make. Like I said, because of a lot of the Congo versus Rwanda thing going on, like we have to make sure that we put it in the context
No,
of
that's not
Africa.
where the debate is at
Right.
all.
You know
It's
what I'm
not
saying?
about
Right.
Congo and
You know what I'm saying?
Rwanda, not
Right.
even.
Yes. Right. Much appreciated, my brother.
It's about the future of Africa and the future of the
Absolutely.
African world.
Absolutely.
That's what's at stake. That's what's unfolding right now in the heart of the African continent.
Absolutely, my brother. I want to get some comments and then we're going to go to the solution conversation. So a few people have got comments here. And before I do that, I just want to clarify and highlight something that our brother mentioned before in terms of Victoire, the sister Victoire Ingabire. Yes, having run against Kagame for the presidency and being imprisoned. One of the main things that she was imprisoned for is because she went to a memorial for the Rwanda genocide. And I've observed the fact that only the lives of the Tutsis who perished were being remembered. And she said that as a nation, if we're going to heal properly and holistically, we have to remember both Hutu and Tutsi lives who perished as a result of this genocide. And because of the laws in Rwanda, it is only legal to speak of genocide in relation that was perpetrated against Tutsi. She was charged with terrorism and genocide denial, yes, and imprisoned as a result, brothers and sisters. So I'm just highlighting that just for saying we have to remember all the lives here. Yes, that's what she said, and that's why she was in prison. Afro Native Big Up Brother says there are those who say that Kagame takes care of his country, of his country of Rwanda and his people. So he's a Rwandan nationalist. Thoughts on this? Feel free to share some. I have heard this before, that the idea is the ineptitude of the Congolese government, and basically that Kagame is, legitimate in taking, exploiting the resources if the Congolese government is not able to do so themselves. That is the argument that I've heard presented.
Yeah, about Victoire Ingabire, the sister who attempted to run against Kagame in 2017. Was Diane Rigara, right?
Yes.
So she got the same treatment as Ingabire. She didn't go in front of any memorial and say anything about,
yes.
recognizing the lives, the fact that she challenged, like Ingabire, she challenged Kagame. But I have to ask the same question. You say he's a Rwandan nationalist, right? Kagame, right? At what cost? You're protecting Rwanda. If you're protecting Rwanda, fine. You're protecting the Rwandese, fine. But why are you in the Congo? Why do you have 7,000 soldiers? Does it require 7,000 soldiers in the Congo to protect Rwanda and Rwanda's interests?
Well, the argument that is that
you're making.
Depends, because the argument is that he's protecting Tutsis, who are being violently aggressed against in Eastern Congo. So, if one believes that narrative, then one would say, well, actually, you might have an argument here.
Okay, so even if you believe that narrative, right? You're protecting Tutsis, right, in Congo, right? 7 million Congolese are internally displaced, right? 7 million, 500,000. Within the last few weeks. A city of 2 million is now occupied by Rwandan soldiers and the M23. A city of 2 million Congolese, right? You have 150 women who were just raped and burnt alive, right? 3,000 people have been killed. So you're going to tell me that all of that, hundreds of thousands of women and children been displaced, living in bestial conditions on volcanic rock, in and around Goma, because a particular minority group is being discriminated against? Is that the response?
Yes.
Is that the justification? Right? I'm not even getting into the argument yet. We can break down the argument, because everybody in the Congo is a minority. The most discriminated group in the Congo, arguably, is the Mbuti, the Twa, the so-called pygmy. Right? So Congo is made up of about 450 cultural groups. So that and you're saying that you're concerned about this discrimination and against the Tutsis. Then is this the way to address the discrimination?
Yes.
Right? 3,000 being killed in the last 10 days. 150 women raped and burnt alive. Hundreds of thousands of women and children displaced, no water, no electricity, running out of food. A city of 2 million people under occupation. Is that the response to discrimination? I wish black folks in the United States can muster such a response as a result of discrimination, or even black folks in the UK.
Yeah, no, we could do with some Kagame troops over here. So
yeah, come on. I mean, let's get serious, right?
But brother, let me get through these comments very quickly so we can deal with some action that we need to take as a people. I'm just going to run through the comments quickly. Big up to Ola Eshu over there in the ATL. People like Rwanda because it shows them that black capitalism, quote unquote, can work. This is true. It's a
How does Rwanda show black capitalism can work? 40% of the budget is from Europe and the United States.
No, I get your point.
It's still one of the poorest nations in the world.
This is a good question.
What black capitalism is that?
You're right. But the brother is correct, and I know what the brother is saying. He said that there are people that are holding up as a successful economy based upon capitalist standards.
Successful economy based upon looting the Congo, still dependent on the West.
That's capitalism.
Budget.
That is capitalism. The looting part is definitely capitalism. But my brother, answer this to me. To what extent does the quote-unquote development that we see in Kigali, to what extent is it representative of the rest of Rwanda? Because there are conflicting reports about that.
Man,
as well.
there's several studies that are out that's been done, that looks at rural Rwanda, and there's a gentleman by the name of David Himbura who produces a lot of reports looking at data and statistics about poverty outside of Kigali. Where they show that, in terms of degree of poverty, in terms of access to healthcare, you just name it, that the people outside of Kigali are not, benefiting like Kagame is putting out. They even challenged some of the numbers that he's published, and I'd have to get some of those reports and share it with you. But I don't even really want to get into the Rwanda miracle narrative, right? Because Rwanda, Kagame, and do what you do in Rwanda. My thing is, does that justify what you're doing in the Congo? The killing of Congolese, the killing of other Africans.
That is a question.
And people who want to believe that Rwanda is a model for the future of Africa, blessing to you. I'm a Sankara guy. If I want to look at a model at a small country that works, that's in terms of the advancement, something that you want to replicate, I look to Burkina Faso of Thomas Sankara. Even contemporary today, you look to the Sahel states. Anti-imperialists, Pan-Afrikanists. None of that is Kagame. So. I understand some black capitalists. They want to say that that's a model. Some people are moving there, but I just keep raising the question: at what price? What price do Congolese and other Africans have to pay for this black capitalist, success that you're talking about?
Absolutely. A couple more comments. One of which I don't think we're gonna have time to answer today, but we will get back to it because this is not the only, as brothers and sisters will know, this is not the only conversation that we are having in our We Stand with Congo series. So we will come back to certain things, and some of these questions have been highlighted in previous conversations. But Ola Eshu says USAID is Rwanda's largest donor. I don't know if Trump's recent antics have changed that reality, but yes, I understand that they do get a whole heap of money from USAID. And Francine McQuire is in the building and just wants to
Sister Francine. I'm sure you had Francine on the break.
Yes, a couple weeks ago. Yes, we did. Francine's my good sister, So we love Sister Francine McQuire around here. Right, my brother, set him a tip. Did ask, please ask our brother to elaborate on the relationship between Rwanda and Kagame and the M23. I want to table this question only because of time. Yeah,
Mhm.
because I
Well,
do
I'll
want to
just
get.
quickly say for them to look
Yeah,
at the latest group of experts report from December, the
right.
UN group of experts report from December, which documents how there are up to 4,000 Rwandan soldiers in the Congo. They have command control of the M23
Yes.
inside the Congo. It's well documented in the UN
Yes.
reports, well documented by Kagame's allies, the US, UK, and others. They have intelligence reports, satellite images. So there's really, you know, Kagame, Rwanda and Rwandan soldiers are the command and control of the M23. And
I'm also going
they
to
even say there may be even be more Rwandan soldiers in the Congo than there are M23.
Yep, I'm gonna also suggest people stay in tune with Black Agenda Report because
Yes.
they're quite good on this issue. Yeah, they got a number of articles dating back years as well. So if you want some historical background, you can get that too.
Yeah.
My brother, people are feeling helpless right now.
Mm.
Our people who are concerned with our people in the Congo, we're looking at what's going on and we want to do something to help and we don't know what to do. What
Yes.
are the prescriptions that Friends of the Congo are advising us to get involved in?
Okay, first and foremost, what we're seeing today is not the first time.
Yes.
Rwanda occupied and captured the city of Goma in 2012, right? And as a result of global pressure, they got up off of it, right? The M23 went back into Rwanda. Some of them went back into Uganda. Leadership was pretty much remained intact. One of the leaders was sent to the International Criminal Court, Bosco Ntaganda. He's still there now.
Yes.
So we've been here before, so we know what works. And there are two things that we can implement that we're recommending for us to support the Congolese people and lift this occupation. And first and foremost, it's so important for us to understand this is not a heavy lift, right? This is not a heavy lift. I'm sending you a link in the chat that you can share with the folks online. This is not a heavy lift. And these two things, right? One is for Kagame's donors. I told you almost half of the budget is from outside. The UK, European Union, United States, other European nations to withhold their aid from Rwanda. The UK is thinking about it. If you want to add some pressure to the MPs, support the initiative by our brothers, young Congolese brothers and sisters, the Congolese Action Youth Platform, CAYP. I just shared the link for them to put pressure, call the MPs, write the MPs. The UK says it's thinking about it, so push them over the edge. Not only think about it, but do it. Withhold the military aid. Folks in Germany, they're thinking about Germany's suspended development aid talks with Kagame that was supposed to take place this month. We need our folks in Germany pushing that as well. So the pressure on European nations, they withheld tens of millions of dollars in 2012. Tens of millions of dollars, and that was decisive in getting Kagame to back off, dismantle the M23, remove his soldiers from Rwanda. So pressure UK government, pressure European governments, pressure at the European Union, right? Make those videos, make those audios, make those texts, send them to the European Union representatives. They're all on social media. Let them know we want the EU to withhold its support. They gave about $600 million to Kagame. Withhold their support to Kagame. Cancel the critical minerals deal that they entered into with Kagame in 2024, right? So we just need to be on it. Call your mom, call your sister, call your brother, call your family members, your network. We got to put the pressure on. UK specifically, you have that link. European Union, hit them up on social media, right? It's so critical. The second thing is Rwanda is its image. It's very important. It's a propaganda image, right? With the Visit Rwanda campaign. So we need to say to people, as long as Rwanda is occupying the Congo, Arsenal, you got to cut your ties with Rwanda.
Right.
Saint Germain out of France, you got to cut your ties with Rwanda. The German team, you got to cut your ties with Rwanda, right? They all have Visit Rwanda. The World Cyclist Championship that's scheduled to be in Rwanda in September of this year, we have to mobilize and hit them up and say, no, as long as you do not go to Rwanda to hold a cycling championship, as long as Rwanda is occupying the Congo. We see our Nigerian sister, big up to her, Thames. She said, I'm not going, right? John Legend, he's supposed to go in on the 21st of February. Hit him up. We have a campaign, do not visit Rwanda. Hit up John Legend. It's John Legend on Twitter, John Legend on Instagram. Let him know that if he goes to Rwanda, he's going to be co-signing the raping of those 150 women who were burnt alive, the 3,000 Congolese who were killed, the occupation of a city of 2 million Congolese, and the war crimes against humanity that's being committed right now.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I know a lot of people have difficulties with this one. Yeah, don't visit Rwanda. It's one thing to say to Thames and John Legend not to go to Rwanda to perform, but then that don't visit Rwanda seems to extend to us as ordinary people visiting the African continent. And so some people have a problem with that because if
there are 54 African countries.
No, but the argument is, if I want to go to Rwanda, I'm not going to see Kagame. I'm going to see my brothers and sisters, right? So why should I go to why am I punishing my brothers and sisters in Rwanda for the sake of Kagame? That's the argument that people are going to bring.
I mean, in the apartheid era, we were trying to, end the apartheid system. We're trying to end the warmongering system. Folks are in like, okay, I'm going to go to South Africa to see my brothers and sisters. Right? That's not what they're saying. They're saying we're with you. We're with the boycott campaign. We're with the Sullivan principles. Right? So it's a person's individual choice. We're just saying what we know that will work. If they believe that the Congolese women who were raped and burned alive deserve justice. Those 3,000 Congolese were dead. For us, really, it's a question that we really have to ask ourselves as Africans, people of African ancestry. How many Africans are we willing to dispose of? How many Africans are we willing to say are disposable?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just so that we can embrace an image that has been given to us by the oppressor. We already laid out the extent to which the image has been manufactured. Right? We didn't even talk about Paul Rusesabagina. How Kagame went and captured him in international at Dubai and brought him back to Rwanda to torture and put in jail.
For those who are not aware, Paul Rusesabagina is the brother from Hotel Rwanda.
He was a hero in the Rwandan genocide. But he's a dissident. He's critiquing Kagame, and Kagame doesn't take kindly to that. We have to ask ourselves, what are we willing to tolerate? And some of us may say, okay, let the Congolese women burn, let the Congolese women be raped. Like, Congo, they're doing, they don't have a good government, so let their city be occupied, let their resources be stolen. And there'll be some folks that think that way. We're not one of those. We're not a part of that. We're not a part of that narrative, right? Absolutely. So we're saying to people, for Kagame's friends to stop supporting with your tax dollars, with our tax dollars. To end the sports washing, the NBA, the football teams, the cycling associations, the entertainers, the Kendrick Lamars, the Dave Chappelles, all of whom have been to Rwanda, those you're just covering the crimes that Kagame's committing in the Congo. I don't see there's no way about it. No other way of seeing it.
I'm made to understand Kagame came on stage after the Kendrick show.
Oh yeah, they have a picture. Yeah, both of them. That's what he does. he knows how to work it. He's not gonna have a popular artist or comedian and not take a picture with him.
My brother, I want to challenge us a little bit more here as we get to our close, because you've met the two things that you said so far are in relation to letter campaigns, in relation to wherever we are at, look at what the relationship is with the state, with Rwanda, and start a letter writing campaign in relation to those things. And we're going to facilitate that here at Kimonga Media. The other thing is not to visit Rwanda. The other contradiction that we have and I've spoken to many brothers and sisters from Congo about this, is that so much of our information and awareness raising is reliant upon the technology that is produced from the exploitation of land and resources in the Congo. It's a contradiction that I don't have any good answers for, except for when I speak to my brothers and sisters from Congo, they say use it to get the word out. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. So just address that for our listeners, that because I feel that contradiction all the time. And I try to do little things like buy refurbished and secondhand rather than new, things like that I've learned along the way. But to what extent do those things have an impact, and should we be moving towards more grander scale boycotts? And what would we need to get to that point of having more grand scale organized boycotts against these corporations? Because it appears to me that we need to get to that level. As you gave the example of South Africa, and that was a part of, companies are boycotted. So, this is probably a bit more difficult given how the world is tied up, right? In terms of technology.
That's such a complex question on so many levels. We're all part of the capitalist system. Yes. We're using the technology that comes from, in large part, not just the Congo, but different parts of Africa and the global South, right?
Yes.
So we're in a colonial system, right?
Yeah.
The Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres.
Yes.
Before he became Secretary General, he was former Prime Minister of Portugal, and he gave an interview to the Financial Times, a newspaper right there in the UK, in 2008. And he said that let us not forget, the international community has systematically looted the Congo. Right? He said the international community has systematically looted the Congo. And he could have added for 125 years.
Absolutely.
Right? He didn't say one company, Apple or Samsung, has systematically looted the Congo.
Right.
He didn't say one sector, the auto sector or the technology sector or the electronic sector, aerospace sector or the military sector has systematically looted the Congo. He said that the international community has systematically looted the Congo. That was his diagnosis, which we agree with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, if that's the diagnosis, what is the prescription? If that's the diagnosis, that the international community has systematically looted the Congo, what is the prescription? Is boycotting Apple going to end the systematic looting of the Congo by the international community? Or Samsung? Right? We're talking about liberation.
Yes.
When Patrice Lumumba established, the Congolese National Movement, his political party in 1958, he said, "Comrades, we're here for one reason only, a free Congo." Right? Free Congo comes about from organizing, right? Organizing so that Congolese can exercise resource sovereignty.
Absolutely.
Control the land, control the wealth, control the resources, control their own affairs, control their means of production.
Absolutely.
Right? So how are we going to get there? Now, we boycotted in South Africa. Does South Africa control the land? The Black South Africans? Was the boycott successful?
Yep.
The boycott was successful, right? But does the South African masses control the land? Do they control the diamonds? Right? Do they control, the resource, the gold that's there? Do they control the platinum?
Yes.
Do they control that? So we have to be careful about what our aim is.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And if we're clear about what our aim is, then that will inform, the strategies and tactics that we pursue. And I don't see where boycotting a particular company is going to lead to a free and liberated Congo and a free and liberated Africa.
Right.
If you mobilize and support those on the front lines, use your phone, raise some money, raise some awareness, and support those diggers at the bottom of the cobalt and copper supply chain, the EV supply chain, the green energy supply chain, those indigenous leaders in the rainforest that are protecting the rainforest, those youth that are organizing in Kinshasa for a free and liberated Congo, use your phone to support them, mobilize resources, right?
Right.
If we're talking about a free and liberated Congo in Africa. Now, if you, you know, this is not to say that we shouldn't be dealing with, you know, the conspicuous consumption, you know, and the excesses of capitalism, right? But I think that's a different question. You know, when we're talking about the degrowth movement and how it is that we, you know, we fuel capitalism through our consumption patterns. So we address that, not addressing it because we think, oh, if we buy a refurbished phone or we do something, it's going to end the conflict in the Congo. No, you do that because you say, I don't want to buy into this capitalist system. You know, I'm heading towards that degrowth, you know, spectrum, so to speak. But if we're talking about Congo, we're talking about a free and liberated Congo that Kwame Nkrumah argued for in the challenge of the Congo.
Absolutely.
Right? The free and liberated Congo that, you know, Andre Blouin talks about in her book, you know, Africa, My Country. Right? And then if you're talking about that, then you come up with a whole different type of, you know, prescription. You look to Evo Morales in Bolivia, for example, right? And what they do with the resources in Bolivia. You look to Hugo Chavez, for example, and what he did with the resources in Venezuela that had an impact that enabled Argentina to retire its debt to the World Bank because, you know, Venezuela was willing to bankroll Argentina. You know, that enabled, you know, the Haitians to get, you know, fuel and other nations in the Caribbean because, you know, Hugo Chavez felt he owed a debt to the Haitian people because of the revolution, you know, that they led that ultimately lead to the freedom in Venezuela, right? That's a totally different model than boycotting a company.
No, absolutely, my brother. You've done us a great service here today. I will say this from now, that I would love to bring you back at some point soon. But the conversation then would be specifically in terms of what you mentioned just now, in terms of movements and organizations on the ground in the Congo. We need to know more about them. And so I would love to do a show exclusively focused on that. Just
and bring some of them on, not just me, bring them on.
Absolutely.
You know, bring some of them
we will
on.
talk. We will talk.
People think they look at Congo and like, oh, it's nothing. The extent to which Congo is a unified Congo today is a direct result of movements in the Congo. There's no Congo the Congo that we see today doesn't exist without the masses of Congolese who have fought Kagame with sticks and stones and Museveni, right? They fought with everything that they can reach. So there's a tremendous amount of agency among the youth, among those dwelling in the rainforest, at the bottom of the cobalt mines, at the front lines of the conflict, in the urban areas in Kinshasa. There's a vibrancy there, you know, that's unmistakable. And it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. Francine will tell you, you know, she supports them, you know, her brothers and sisters back home.
She gave us a few pointers the other day when she came on with us, you know what I'm saying? But we will talk some more and we'll see if we can bring them on. I do want to say to brothers and sisters, please check out friendsofthecongo.org and Friends of the Congo on all social media. They tend to be called Congo Friends.
Congo Friends. But real easy,
media.
they can go to Free Congo, freecongo.org,
or freecongo.org.
Everything. Freecongo.org, because we want a Free Congo.
Yes,
freecongo.org.
One more message from our viewers, and our brother John Gakumba says, this is the most informed discussion I have seen in the most recent days. Maurice is very informative. So I would just want to share that with you, my brother, that the audience has felt greatly served by what you have shared.
Encouraging words, Brother John.
With us today, my brother. So we appreciate you, my brother. And I will end as I began to say thank you, because I know you're doing tireless work, and I have learned a lot, a whole heap, from you and the work that you do. So just know that it doesn't go unnoticed, and it is highly, 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 highly valued, my brother.
Thank you, brother. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank our sister. She knows who she is, who made that connection, right?
Absolutely.
So thank you, our great.
Absolutely.
You know, sister warrior.
Yes, sir.
Let the circle be unbroken.
And let the healing begin. All right, my brother.
Yes.
I'm gonna close out the show, but thank you again, and feel free to let yourself out.
All right. Thank you, brother. Be well.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Peace.
All right, brothers and sisters, that has been Brother Maurice Carney. Yeah, Brother Maurice Carney. Give Brother Maurice some Black Power fists, in the chat if if you've been feeling the information, appreciative of what he has shared with us today. It's an entirely important conversation, a delicate one, a one that challenges us as Pan-Afrikanists. And I'm very aware that in terms of some of the things that I have said recently, I have challenged many Pan-Afrikanists in relation to this propping up of the image and narrative of Paul Kagame. Some of them have come back to me, and so it's possible that we may have a dissenting view on in a week or two's time. Somebody who disagrees, let's say, with our analysis of Kagame, and so we'll engage that. I stand 10 toes deep in the soil in terms of what I have said and what Brother Maurice has shared with us today. I say without equivocation that no Pan-Africanist should be hailing Paul Kagame as a legitimate African leader on the African continent, given what our brother Maurice has shared with us today, given all of the evidence of his neo-colonial criminality. I stand on that 100%. Yes, there should be no African, especially one who calls himself a Pan-Africanist, Black nationalist, pro-Black, whatever description, that should be lauding the virtues of a Paul Kagame in this time. But there are brothers and sisters who think like that, and so we will at least give them a respectful hearing, and engage systematically, as our elder brother Maurice Carney has said. Right, brothers and sisters, do stay tuned for more. We stand with Congo. Do stay tuned for more. We stand with IET. Do stay tuned for more from Kimbunga Media. If you are not subscribed to Kimbunga Media, subscribe to Kimbunga Media. Hit the like button. Hit the like button if you have not done so already. Hit the like button on your way out. And if you are so moved, feel free to join our Patreon community just to support the continued growth and development of a Pan-African media platform based in the UK. Many serious things planned for this year, brothers and sisters, so do stay tuned. I want to appreciate all those who locked in, bigging up Ola Eshui in the building, bigging up all my people them in the ATL. And I've spent some good time in the ATL with some good people, and so I'm just appreciative of the Ola. Big up Scattered Minds in the building, big up Enrico Mullins, Auntie Miriam is in the building, Brother Roots, Melamandea, Agro Valley, of course, Imhotep, Nakfa, Brother Afro Native is in the building, Sizwe, I don't know how to pronounce that, Chiguka, forgive me if I'm pronouncing that incorrect. Uncle Asari is in the building. Greetings, Uncle Asari. Sonny Motezi is in the building. Lee Clinton is in the building. Brother Chikezi, is in the building. And yes, brothers and sisters, many others. Big up to all the silent viewers. Dr. Sankofa is in the building. Lumkwa is in the building. Of course, Francie Mkwaya is in the building. Big up all my Congolese brothers and sisters, in the building. We appreciate you, we love you, and we stand with you, my brothers and sisters. Big up all my Rwandan brothers and sisters who see the thing clear and understand Wagwan. Big up yourself too. We stand with you, and we love you. Sizwe Chiguka says my pronunciation is excellent, so we're giving thanks. We're giving thanks. You know what I mean? Yeah, man, we'll give thanks. All right, brothers and sisters, and with that, we say unto the Tendai Mwani, be thankful unto the Mother, Father, creative life force of the universe. Kudzai Mudzimu Mokuro, we give praises unto our great ancestors. Abibi Tumi, Abibi Fahodi, African power and African liberation for all African people. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.